it's important that we never put anyone in a box. And that's my whole thing. I speak a lot about unconscious bias. That idea that, oh, that's a black guy, he's probably into these interests. And that dude's in a wheelchair, so he's probably, maybe I should speak slower when I speak to him. Unconscious bias.
Mm-hmm.
So diversity, no matter where you are, it exists, and it's important that we get to know people as individuals and not put them in a box based on what we can observe about their gender or their race or their religion.
Let's go!
Mr. Rogers and Robert Munch are two people I've been compared to that, like, wow, that just blesses me so much, man, because those are heroes, and they truly, Mr. Rogers, I mean, he made the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone say a leader is someone who looks at the world and says, it doesn't have to be this way, and then does something about it. And for me, Mr. Rogers is that, like, he embodies that perfectly. So man, thank you.
Amazing. Just if people aren't familiar, because there might be a huge audience that doesn't know.
Right.
Because if his show is not streaming.
You don't think he's universal?
I think he is, but there's a chance that people don't know.
Like somebody could not know, yeah.
Yeah. What was it about him that impacted you, and why is he someone that you would love to follow in his footsteps?
Mr. Rogers created a safe place for kids. So he hosted a TV show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and he taught you how to be a good human being. You know, it didn't matter the color of your skin, if you're in a wheelchair, it didn't matter he just taught you how to be a good neighbor. And that was his thing. Won't you be my neighbor no matter who you are, right? And, you know, there were kids that were going through a tough time, and they'd come home from school going through a tough time, and Mr. Rogers was there. And he was always there, and he was that safe place and that comforting voice. He gave some of the best advice ever when it came to kids who see scary things on the news. And, you know, when there's a terrorist attack or something horrible happens, he told kids, wherever there is trouble or danger or terror, there are always helpers. So if you see something scary on the news, look for the helpers. And what that does is it anchors a kid. So instead of that kid being anxious and worried, they're always looking for the good. They're looking for the helper. And so I admire him so much.
Let's go!
Yeah, so anti-bullying was the term, but when I started, that was the term.
Right.
Now we use the term bullying prevention.
Okay.
Yeah, so
It's evolved, yeah.
It's
over
evolved.
10 years.
Yeah. Tell us about that, man. First of all, what was your motivation? Were you bullied to or did you notice bullying to kind of get you into this mix?
Well, I wonder how many listeners are going to share this story with me. Growing up, I didn't really think about bullying a lot. It happened to me. I also bullied people, but people didn't take it as seriously, and it just was kind of like part of childhood, part of growing up, and so I didn't think about it. And so what happened was I was an actor, and I was hosting a show on CBC television called The X. It was a kid show. And so part of the show is we travel across the country and all across Canada, and we go to schools and tell kids, hey, we have an important message. Our show is on at 4:00. It's on Channel 6. Tune in. And I would rap for them and crack jokes and give away free stuff, and it was always fun. And I loved going into schools and speaking to students. And at one school, a guidance counselor pulled me aside and said, listen, when you speak, our students listen. You have a gift. And she said, our biggest problem right now is bullying. Could you come back and do a bullying presentation? And I was like, wow, okay, let me think about that. And I went home, and again, I hadn't thought a lot about bullying. I went home and I wrote on a piece of paper. This is one of the moments that changed my life. I wrote on a piece of paper, anti-bullying rap workshop. Anti-bullying rap, and when I wrote it down, it's like the paper started floating. It's like, it was like, whoa. And I prayed about it, and I felt like this confirmation in my spirit, like, this is what I need to do. And it combines my love of performing with my love of rapping and so I started researching bullying. And when I started reading Barbara Colaroso and Wendy Craig and Deborah Pepler and all these pioneers of bullying prevention research, Dan Oweas, I realized, oh my goodness, I went through bullying as the only black kid. I remember getting called the names. I remember hiding in a bathroom. But also then I became the kid who had some social power, and I became the kid that other people looked to, and I had followers, and then all of a sudden I started making fun of people, and I used my social power to look down on people and laugh at people and get other people laughing at them too. So I've been a bully, I've been bullied, and I've been a bystander, but it's only in hindsight that I recognize that.
Let's go!
Have you had any stories where you were doing a presentation somewhere in the world and you just hit the mark on the head with this one student or one kid that has been going through something, and that your talk changed their outcome?
Yo, thankfully I can say it happens all the time. I can show you my Instagram DMs. I don't check DMs, but once in a while I do. And yeah, I tell students not to DM me because then it gets weird, right? Like,
yeah.
But you know, because they're kids. I'm a grown man. You don't want to be DMing a kid.
Right.
It's weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't respond, and but the truth is, sometimes I check them, and man, students write me all the time about a difference that I made in their life. One student, the one that changed everything I do, is I told a story in BC about a kid who had a stutter, and it was getting made fun of for this stutter. And I told this kid, hey, you're not the one that needs to change. If you change your stutter, they're going to make fun of your hair. You change your hair, they're going to make fun of the car you show up in. You're not the one that needs to change. There's nothing wrong with you. You're human. You're imperfect because we're all imperfect. You don't need to change. There's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with these kids making fun of you. Why are they so cruel? Why are they so mean? What's going on in them that they have all this toxic energy? And it made a difference.
Let's go!
So, okay, let's do a mental health exercise right now. I do this with leaders, and it's amazing. It's a game changer. Okay, this is called box breathing. Anytime you find yourself in a situation where your heart rate's going, maybe someone's made you angry, maybe you're feeling stressed out, maybe you're a teacher, you're about to snap at a kid, maybe you're a parent, you're about to snap at a kid. Do box breathing.
I want Jerry to get part of this as well because he was quite upset this morning. So we wanna make sure Jerry gets in on this.
Jerry, box breathing. This is for you, okay?
All right, not a problem.
Okay, so box breathing. Here's what you're gonna do, all right? You're gonna trace with your finger, or you do it in your mind, a box, right? And you're gonna trace around the edges of a box. What you're gonna do is you're gonna count 1 to 4, and you're gonna inhale. Then you're gonna count 1 to 4. You're gonna hold your breath. Then you can count 1 to 4, and you're gonna exhale, and then count 1 to 4, and hold your breath again. You're gonna go around in a box.